Landscaping can get those trees down for a reasonable price. Free estimates, senior citizen and military discounts available. 248-640-7029. And there's a 20% off coupon for first-time customers in the current COURANTonline.com. Go there and pull that coupon off, or just let Jason know. 248-640-7029.
You know, with the leaves gone, look up into those trees. Look for the big hanging branches that are dangling there.
Yep.
They're called widowmakers.
Yes, sir.
You know, and when you see them, call J&M, ask them to take them down before they come down at an inopportune moment.
Yes, and the insurance company is not going to be very happy with you. All right, so we're going to talk to 7th District U.S. Michigan Congressman Tim Walberg. Tim, welcome to the show.
Yoo-hoo.
Hey, good to be with you on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, well, congrats, Tim, to you and Speaker Ryan and Speaker McConnell for getting through those next steps and getting us that much closer to tax reform. So it's got to be a good feeling, right?
Well, it is a good feeling. We had a better feeling about it that we were going to ultimately get to it, and for the most part, all we wanted to see the Senate do was to move something out so we could get to a conference committee and work out the differences. Happily, it doesn't appear that there's huge differences between the two parties. There are several things I'd like to see fixed and altered from the Senate proposal, but the repeal of the individual mandate, it's almost hard to believe that they were able to keep that in and pass it with the needed votes necessary. That is as it were, the iron stake driven into the Affordable Care Act's heart.
Right.
So that's a big deal, and the House, I believe, we will be all too willing to keep that in.
Yeah, and that's been odd, Tim, because as I watched the news this morning, I did not see that as a major headline in the tax reform news that they were talking about. And you think it's on purpose? They don't want people to know about it, or they're just kind of running over it? It wasn't like a prominent part of the news cycle this morning.
Yeah, I think they're running over it. Again, the Affordable Care Act has melted down so much that it's hard to defend it. And I've seen some reports saying that this will reduce still further the people that have insurance. Of course, they don't tell you the truth. That's AP talking. They don't tell you the truth. That all it does is says that they can't be mandated and forced into picking insurance that doesn't work for them. It doesn't say that the people won't still try to find some insurance purchase. They just don't have that un-American mandate on that never happened in the history of the United States, that we required somebody to purchase health care or anything else. So, yeah, it's amazing, and the Senate got it through, and we're going to keep moving forward, because that may also give us the opportunity to go back to something like Graham Cassidy with the Senate and pass the repeal and replace of Obamacare as well.
Okay. So, Tim, does this go into effect now? And I was watching, they were talking like in 2019 then, so when we're doing our 2018 taxes, that's when these new rules will apply. It's not going to apply this spring when we do our taxes for 2017, correct?
Yeah, for April 15th, tax filings will be under the old law, but as you prepare the withholdings for this coming tax year, 2018, you will see the decreased tax taken out of the paycheck, and I think that's the important thing for your listeners to know, that you begin to see the impact almost immediately as you prepare for next year.
Tim?
The Senate's plan, however, on the corporate C Corp tax cuts, those won't take place till the end of 2019. Now that's something I don't understand, and I think that'll be part of the negotiations in the conference committee, because we gave corporations and S-corps, pass-through businesses, small businesses, we gave them the same benefit that would start with the 2018 tax year. So,
yeah, why wouldn't they, Tim? Because you know what? If for your own selfish reasons, as politicians, you guys should want the corporate part to go into effect this 2018 so that you see the effect and you get a better chance of being reelected. I don't understand what McConnell and the Senate Republicans are thinking.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is that budget?
Talking with the majority whip of the Senate, my friend Roy Blunt, I asked him about that a couple weeks ago, why in the world they would go that route. he gave me some explanation that dealt with the permanence of the repeal of the individual mandate. But in all honesty, I did not understand and told him so afterwards. And he said, of course, that'd be part of negotiations. But, I don't get it, other than the fact to get a few additional dollars to give opportunities for other cuts. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but that will be a negotiated thing.
Yeah, it means if it gives me a better chance to get rid of Debbie Stabenow, right? If the economy is booming because of Republicans, because of Trump, it gives us a leg up getting rid of Debbie Stabenow here in this state. For crying out loud, senators, if you want another Republican in the Senate, do it now. Let's get this done. If you want to have 60 votes in the Senate, then doggone it, get that corporate tax through starting 2018 so that people go, love the Republicans voting for them in 2018.
Yeah. No, I think the better chance we have of all the people and all the classes, economic classes, to see what this does and actually see that what the media has been talking about and certainly what the Democrats have been saying is absolutely false. And historically, just looking historically, these type of tax cuts always bear positive results, and that's why the stock market has had a huge climb since the beginning of the year because of the optimism that's going forward with the regulatory cuts that we've done already and putting ourselves back on track there now with a true tax reform that will do nothing but spur the economy. And when the economy is spurred, all the rest of the citizens are impacted in a positive way as well.
Hey, Tim, how many brackets? Didn't the House come out with 3 brackets, and the Senate, the last I heard was it 6 or 7?
7. We came with 4, and they came with 7. Our top rate was 39.6. That was for millionaires and above.
Oh, I'm out. Okay.
The Senate, Gary's in. The Senate has 7 rates with a top bracket of 38.5. But when you actually look at them, in the end, it does almost the same because we both have a 0 bracket. That's those that we're at 10%, go now to 0. So in the end, when you look at it, it's a little more complex with having the brackets, but for the most part, the same benefit comes from it.
What do you think gets changed in the I can't remember the term now. The conference
report. Well, I think one of the things certainly will be the discussions about the C corps and why we would give them their tax break in the 2019 as opposed to 2018 year. That will certainly be something. I think we'll talk about mortgage interest deduction. We lowered the cap to $500,000. While the Senate kept it at $1 million. Really, when you have people that have the standard deduction increased for an individual from $6,000 to $12,000, and families from $12,000 to $24,000, this won't mean much to them anyway. When you get into the Hamptons, for instance, and people buying these huge homes, that might make a difference. But for the majority of people, it's not going to make that much. The estate tax is something we'll negotiate on the size of that. They get an exemption that's there. Pass-through rates for small businesses, I think what the Senate did, because of Ron Johnson, may make it a little bit better, and that's something I think we'll negotiate towards. But when we get to SALT, state and local tax deduction, I think that's something that we will have to negotiate because there'll be a real push from some of the Northeastern and California legislators. Whether they will accept what's been done here or not, I'm not certain. But
for me, Tim, I'd hate to lose that deduction. However, when I look at the big picture for me, I don't know that it saves me that much money. I understand that California, New York, and Connecticut, Rhode Island, those people have super high taxes. Well, that's on you folks.
Hey, the pressure will be on them.
The pressure will be on them to fix it. Like Patrick Colbeck right here running for governor has a plan for the state of Michigan. If anybody would listen to him, to reduce and eventually eliminate Michigan income tax. And it's just common sense. Patrick Colbeck knows how to do this. And if everyone would follow his lead, we wouldn't need those state taxes, income taxes like that.
Yeah, and I think it galls a lot of us that we have to pay the freight for states that waste their taxpayers' money, like New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois.
Yep, we're giving them a pass.
That would be a battle. The other battle I think is worth fighting is the AMT. The AMT is just put in place so that once you file or figure your taxes out, then you do it a second time, and all it's done is to try to get more money from the taxpayer for the federal government. The Senate kept the AMT on corporations. They also raised exemption for individual AMT. The House repealed them both. And I think that's the direction we want to go, so that'll be negotiated as well. But in the end, this, as I've said all along, is not a one and done. Let's get the best we can, get it to the president for signing, see the economy begin to take off because of that. And
then tackle more next year and the year after.
More.
Yeah.
Tackle more.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I was really, the other thing that ticked me off was like Bob Corker. Now, I understand it's maybe a good intention. Oh, it's adding to the debt. Where were you, Bob Corker, for the last 8 years standing up telling Obama that you're raising $10 trillion? Because what is this, $1.2 trillion over 10 years, Tim?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, but 1.4 is what they're saying. However, that's not being dynamically scored.
Right.
That's not taking into consideration
the growth.
The good growth that'll take place because of doing good things for the economy for all people.
Yeah, but that's over 10 years, right? 1.4 trillion over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Yeah, we did that every year with Obama.
Every year, and so when I tell people, listen, you're getting this new anti-deficit talking point coming from the same party that didn't mind seeing 10 trillion increased over 8 years because of Obama. And so don't give me this stuff about wanting to be deficit hawks now.
Yes.
When in the past you increased and allowed this president to increase the debt by this exact same amount that it took every other president, Democrat and Republican, since Washington up to Obama to create. So in the end, though, when the economy grows, if we do something that we haven't done for a few years, if we as Congress will discipline ourselves to not spend all the revenue increase, but in fact to give more benefit back to the private sector, we won't have the deficit produced, and that's just a matter of history.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, Tim, did you have another question on that?
Well, he talked about going on to next year, but I'm going to ask a question that may embarrass myself here. The tax bill, that's different than the budget, right?
Yeah, that's different than the budget.
So good. I'm not embarrassing myself. So you're going on to the budget next, right?
No, we're going on to the appropriations spending plan. Unlike in the Michigan legislature, when we pass a budget, it's basically all rolled into the appropriations package. How we do it in Congress, you have a budget that the House passes, the Senate passes, and we don't have to have the president sign that. The president sends us his budget, but generally we don't do anything with that. In this case, we have passed a budget in order to get the reconciliation opportunity. And so we're using reconciliation because of a budget that's in place that sets a pattern. But because of that, we were able in the House to pass 12 appropriations bills on time in budget, keeping with our budget plan that was in place. That's sitting over in the Senate right now. What we're asking now is that the Senate would take up our bills that we've already done through regular order with 1,000 amendments that were considered, two of which were my amendments that were passed. They have that bill. We want them to move it forward. And that's the next step that we want to do. Most likely next week we'll come back and we'll pass a short-term 2-week CR. So it forces us to come back by the 22nd of December and then push forward hopefully a budget with a cap that we have in place for the rest of the budget cycle.
Okay, so can the Senate do this with 51 votes, or do they have to go 60?
On this, they're going to have to go 60. So it's going to force us. It's going to force us to keep the feet on the fire of the Democrats. And right now, they're saying that it's going to shut government down. Well, fortunately, we have a president now that's willing to sign the budget, the appropriations package, the spending plan, unlike Obama. So when we push things forward, he said he'd veto. This president says, send it to me. I'll sign it. We have two houses that want to send a budget that's within our spending caps and also does entitlement reform and does away with some mandatory expenditure areas. So the only one that can stop this from taking